Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I hope you are well. I am Dr. Tammy. I am your success strategist and literacy educator. I help you strategize how to move in the direction of more and prepare for what's next. And today, I am so excited to be here with you today with some of my friends from the Women Aspiring for More community. And we're going to talk about the four agreements. And I don't know if you've read the book or not. Look, oh, all my tabs and stuff. Let me get that. But I don't know if you've read the book or not, but oh my goodness, it is a good read. And I will tell you this, like, look, I was trying to decide what is the community going to read. And typically I make it where, everyone can suggest a book and then we vote on a book and we do it that way. But this time I said, no, we're going to read this one. And for me, this is probably my third or fourth time reading it, definitely my fourth time reading it. And I realized as I started rereading it, why it kept coming up for me, why this is something we needed to read. And we're going to talk about that throughout this month of June, because there's some things that are so relevant to what's going on in the world right now. And we want to bring you into the conversation. So if you've read it, join in the conversation. If you haven't read it, we're going to encourage you to check it out and read it, get a copy and read it. So I have a few friends here that I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and share a little bit about them, and then we'll get into the discussion. And today we're discussing chapters 1 and chapter 2. And I'll talk about all of that and what that is after they introduce themselves. But I want to bring them in so we can start this discussion. So here we go. Hello, ladies. Thank you for being here.
Hello.
Hi.
So if you would introduce yourselves to the audience.
Go ahead, Janine.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Janine Tabola, and I am known on Periscope as the Casual Scoper. I am doing this sort of, I am on a hiatus, professional hiatus from being a business analyst and nonprofit professional. And I scope about a variety of topics. Usually it's stuff that really kind of interests me. Recently, it's about stuff I'm struggling with, and about learning a self journey of how to figure out how to deal with stuff and how to become a better person. So if you like any of that stuff, join me over on Periscope. I'm at JMTSQ. Check me out on Instagram. I'm also a aspiring artist. I'm starting to learn. I'm teaching self-taught drawing, and I publish what I draw on Instagram. So join me there, also at JMTSQ. I just basically like to have fun. Come on along. I'd love to have talk with you and enjoy life with you. So there you go. How was that?
That was perfect. I love it. And oh my goodness, like your drawings have evolved. Like, oh my goodness.
I can definitely see it. Yeah.
From
definitely.
the time we started the Insta Bosses and you were started doing that to now, it's like, did she really do that? I think she didn't. That must be a copy.
No, I do it.
She's doing it. She's doing it. And then I read the caption and you're like, no, this is mine. All right, Miss Stevie.
Hello. I am most recently Dr. Stevie Aisha Mills.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The Lord is awesome. The Lord is awesome. And so I help women get seen and get paid. I am the founder of the Moneymakers Club. You can check us out at I Am a Moneymaker. IamAmoneymaker.com. And I'm super excited to be here. I love Dr. Tammy. I love Janine. And we're going to deep dive into this book, honey. That's what I'm ready for. So let's go.
Let's go. Right.
Yay.
This is awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of go through. We're going to start with kind of an overview on just what you think of the book just initially. We're just now starting to read it. We're in or reread, and we're just in the first 2 chapters. There are actually 6 chapters in the book. So if you could just share just your initial thoughts and maybe one thing that really stood out to you just from this read. We're going to get into the other things, but what is one of the top things that your takeaways from the first 2 chapters?
Well, I would say number 1 is thank goodness this book is not very long, because it's easy to do several rereads of this book and almost necessary.
Yes.
Because it's deep, guys. It's deep. It may not seem deep because after all the printing's big and all that kind of stuff, but the stuff being talked about here and the work that you can do from it is enormous. And all I can say is my impression of it is that if you are troubled, if you are searching, this will give you a little bit of peace just reading it, because it's a very hopeful book. That's what I think.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Miss Stevie?
The word that resoundingly keeps like booming from me with this book is integrity. Like, this chapter was all about integrity.
Yep.
And that is one of my coach's favorite words, Dr. Marilyn Porter. And it's so true. You have to have integrity with yourself before you can have integrity with anybody else, no matter what you're doing. So integrity is key. That's all I read. Even though he had his own words, I just felt integrity.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. I know that, initially, one of my most recent designs, I haven't released it yet, but I did. I completed, is light. I am light. And that opening the chapter when he talked about how everything is light and we are light, and looking at ourselves in that respect, that kind of resonated with me. And then throughout the chapter, going into chapter 2 and being impeccable, be impeccable with your word, it kind of the same thing resounded. So for me, that was it. So let's get into a few things in here. Let's just go right in. I got to get my notes.
I'm like,
okay. So do you have a favorite quote? Do either of you have like a favorite quote that's something that resonated with you in the chapters?
I don't know if it's so much a quote, but I loved his definition of impeccable.
Ooh.
I don't know, like, I wouldn't call it a quote, it's a definition, but I loved, you want me to read it, or you want me, what do you want? Okay, so
you're fine. Yeah.
Okay, so it says, now let us see what the word impeccability means. Impeccability means without sin. And then he goes on to talk about how religion talks about sin and sinners, but let's understand what it really means to sin. A sin is anything that you do which goes against yourself. And so as a Christian, it kind of, because we're not used to hearing that definition of sin. And I think a lot of people have to, again, be in alignment with self before they can even, because I might not think something is wrong, right? So it might not be a sin to me, but in this whole wide world of sin that we live in, somebody might be like, oh, you're sinning. And it is a reminder that, oh, this is, I might not be doing what you're doing that's considered a sin, but we're all doing our own thing. And whether it's right or wrong falls on my shoulders, not on the shoulders of somebody else. So that's truly what made me think.
Oh, and that's something else, that hinges on something else about judgment.
Yeah.
Because that was a big thing that resonated throughout the chapters, was this idea that judging, whether we judge others or ourselves based on others and what we've learned, that idea of judgment and how that plays into how we navigate the world and engage with other people, as well as how we carry ourselves. And so that was really big in here. Janine?
Well, I'm going to, something from approximately the same spot in the book that Stevie just referenced was, and with all this talk about weaponizing people's causes and everything, the part where he talked about the word being a sword that cuts both ways. One side is words can be used for evil, or words can be used for good. Just the idea of the sword. I think we're all a lot of us are at a spot where we just want to get out there and, like, I don't know about you, but I want to punch some stuff. So
yes,
but thinking about the weapon imagery and knowing that even if you're not actually wielding a physical sword, your words can be a weapon.
Yes.
And let's use the right side of the sword. Does that make sense?
Yes. Choose wisely and choose your words wisely. And that's, so to go into, just clarify what Janine's talking about, is we're talking about this idea of one of the 4 agreements. So let me go back a little bit. So he said our goal should be to adjust our agreements, whatever our agreements are with ourselves. And he said our agreements are, and he clarified what that is. Our agreements are even the words that we use. If we use a word, we are making an agreement with that word. We are agreeing with whatever it is. And so when you adopt those, that becomes part of who you are. And so he said our goal should be to break those agreements that are not serving us, that are not for us. And the way that we do this, the way that we start, are the 4 agreements in this book. The books that the 4 agreements he have in this book are a way to start, and that's how we can embrace our personal freedom and become free from those negative, what we tend to call negative ideas, beliefs, and words that we those that tape we play in our head over and over again. These 4 agreements are the way to do that. The first agreement in the book that we're talking about today is be impeccable with your word. And so that's what Janine was referring to, and what that means to be impeccable with your word. And of course, Dr. Stevie talked about how impeccable, what that means. And when he says that, what that means, and how, and I kind of went into what Janine was talking about, how when you say something that is not serving you or not positive, then you are not being impeccable with your word. You are sinning against yourself. And so that's where that agreement comes from. So that's just a little background and where we are in the book. And so chapter 1, he gives an overview of the idea of the self and how we see ourselves in this world and how we navigate this world based on that perception. And then he starts in the 4 agreements. So this month we will be going through each of the 4 agreements, 1 per week. Today we're talking about be impeccable with your word, and we'll go into the others each week of June. So you can join us back here wherever you're watching this on this platform here this month. And normally we do this in the group, but the summer I thought, in the light of what's going on, and since we're staying at home, that we would take the discussion to other platforms so you can kind of see what we do within the group. All right, so that's just a little background. I thought I'd say that because we're in chapter 2, but there's so much in chapter 1 as well. And so, but the basis of today's conversation is really be impeccable with your word and what that means. And he says that particular agreement is the most important one of them all. So out of all the ones we're going to discuss this month, that is the one that is the most important. And he says, and I like his definition actually of be impeccable with your word. I'm going to read it because I just rather do that because I'm good at that rather than trying to remember. Be impeccable with your word is not using the word against yourself. If I love myself, I will express that love in my interactions with you, and then I'm being impeccable with my word because the action will produce a like reaction. And so that's kind of what he says. The correct use of your energy, being impeccable with your word, it means that you use your energy in the direction of truth and love of yourself. And so he even talks about how when you say things to other people, when you make judgments about other people, you're really making judgments about yourself. You're really saying what you believe about yourself. So when you call, just throw this out, someone ugly, is that really about them or is that about you? Okay, so based on what I said, you know what his belief is. So, but yeah, so you want to create the energy of love for yourself. So if you think you're beautiful, you should also exude that to other people. So that's kind of what's one of the examples of how to use that in this chapter. All right, ladies, I'll bring you back. There we go. All right, so anything else you have to add? I just wanted to kind of go back just a little bit. So since we skipped to chapter 2.
I was going to say, just to build on what you just said about the analogy of ugly, sometimes things are truly ugly. Let's just face it, right? Okay? But if you are impeccable with your word, and I like the idea not just of sin, but of purity, right. If despite whatever you look at yourself and you're saying, I love myself, you are not ugly despite anything anybody has said, even when you're looking at something that's ugly, you're not going to use your word. It builds an empathy to be pure with that word. That word ugly should be reserved for the most pure sense of the word. So you're not going to throw it around like a cheap 25-cent piece of candy. You know what I mean? You're going to hold it. You're going to exercise empathy, and you're not going to slay somebody with that word. That's the way I feel. That's the way I feel about that. And it all stems from yourself understanding that you're not ugly, because you would never say that to yourself. So it increases empathy, which is really necessary, I think, to be a happy person. That's just me. So that's what I took out of it.
That's it. Right? Through the word you express your creative power. It is through the word that you manifest everything. So, we always had that thing, about choose your words and all that, choose your words wisely. That is really true. Like you have to be really careful about those things. So we see some people here. The power is in the tongue. Absolutely. Use it wisely. Hello, Brandon. Hello, Alan. Thank you for being over on YouTube. Appreciate you. So that was really big. Anything else that struck you in the text, whether it was in chapter 1 or chapter 2?
Let's see. Let me go back to my remembrance. When I cross these decades, I can't remember stuff. I gotta go look it up.
Y'all know I have a few things that I have selected and pulled out. I have some that really goes into what's going on too and what's happening today.
Yeah, well. And I think one of the things, and it was about manipulation and really about Hitler, right? And so we've seen some things happen inside of our country, and I
marked that too, Miss Stevie. I marked that too. Of course, you know what I put. I put 45 next to it, but
yeah. Look, I'm a PR person. I gotta keep it mellow. But yeah, it is true. It is true. And inside of me being a PR person, I am also in the midst of seeing everything that is happening in all kinds of fronts. And I think that really it talks about manipulation. And we have to, one thing we know for sure, no matter what part of the world we're in, this is an election year. And these are the opinions of Stevie Aisha Mills, Dr. Stevie Aisha Mills, just Stevie, whatever. This is not the opinions of this platform. Let me preface that. And because I
don't know what you're gonna say, but thank you. But I probably agree.
I'm sure you will, but I keep the business a business.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So I would say that this is an election year, right? And the whys of having an election year, there are certain things that we're walking through inside of this election year, that some of these things are very much manipulated, manufactured, created, whatever word you want to use, but you got to be impeccable with your words, taking it back to the book. And you have to understand that there are certain things in which you are being orchestrated to see. I've been on television. I know about television. I've studied television. There are things that you are being orchestrated to see. There are certain things that are being pulled out in certain ways that you will not see because they don't want you to see it. And let's be wise that this is still an election year. So the people who are at the head of the election, they are allowing you to see it in a way in which they want to have impeccable with their word. Now, the question is, does their word align with your word? That is where the impeccable state comes from with you. So it doesn't necessarily align with my word, but it does align with somebody's word. And that is why we have certain things coming up. We have some fear mongering in Stevie's word, being impeccable with my word. We have some fear mongering coming up to distract us from what is happening in the world, to be impeccable with the word. And that's all I got to say.
That's very powerful.
No, that's good. That's good. That was actually on page 27 where I marked that, and that is actually it. Because we've been hearing things about, I'm going to shut down the media for 3 days, social media for 3 days, and I'm going to call the army, and like all of that is that fear, and that's a big part of chapter 2. Is talking about using your words to manipulate through fear, and a lot of what's going on with the COVID and the rebellion, the protests, is all with fear and manipulation. So, yes.
Well, I might fight you on the COVID part.
Well, I think part of that was fear. I think it was fear in you, like, oh, you gotta, oh, you're gonna get it. Like you breathe funny, and some of us just have allergies. We just call it because we have allergies. You got COVID. Like, really?
Oh, yes. But that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah,
I will say that, and I don't remember whether it was in chapter 1 or chapter 2, but it talked about, and I think this is important just to know as an individual, that your brain, when you were a child, right, your brain, if you look at your brain and your mind and how you form your opinions as fertile soil, and the seeds that drop there can grow. And sometimes we're in a situation where people drop some nasty little seeds there and they grow, right?
Right.
But it's up to you. So Janine, get to the point. What are you talking about? We're not blamed for what we think. No. What I'm saying is, if you think about your brain as a fertile field, I just planted some tomatoes. Okay, they're in the backyard. Now I tend to be kind of a benevolent, like I'm a benevolent gardener. Like if it lasts, it lasts. I don't go out there and tend to it. But if you tend to your brain's garden, you're going to root out the stuff that's come from bad seeds. But if you don't think of your brain in that way, those weeds are going to choke out anything possibly that's good. I think it's up to us to go back to our gardens and root out the bad seeds. Some people sow seeds sometimes. They don't realize they're bad seeds that they're sowing.
Yeah. And that was a big thing. I know on page 28, we talked about the word is like a seed, and the human mind is so fertile. And so when you plant those, like anything that goes in, is going to be absorbed. So,
So we need to be cognizant of that fact. And the more your word is impeccable, the less likely those dandelion seeds or chokeweed seeds are going to drop and take root, because we're already impeccable, so we can root those out faster because we're thinking about it, right?
So I'm going to throw up a few comments here.
Good.
Just to take a pause or a sip, whatever.
Sorry, I feel like I'm on coffee chat.
So fear causes our immune systems to weaken. Fear stops us. Hey, Lizzie, how are you? Fear stops us from greatness. Those are some of the comments. Wait, I know I need to go back. I missed a few. Maybe I'm not good at, going through this.
I think if I can say something real quick while you're doing
that. Go right ahead.
I think what all this boils down to is the fact of we have to have a baseline within ourselves, right? We have to develop a point of center. So no matter what, whoever is not impeccable, maybe they are impeccable with their words, because the whole thing about the chapter is not necessarily about me thinking I'm right or you thinking you're wrong or vice versa. The whole thing of the chapter is to think of whatever you think is okay. Whatever you say is okay, but you can't run and hide from what you're saying once you say it. Once I say that bold statement if it comes back on me, then I have to stand in my word because I'm impeccable with it. It's not about being wishy-washy. You can't be wishy-washy in your impeccable nature. And so for me, it's funny because there are so many people, especially right now in the rise of this George Floyd situation too, which is a whole different thing. I'm not just being seen as a woman who is educated necessarily. I'm not just seen as a woman who's an entrepreneur. I'm not just seen as any of these things. I'm being seen as a Black woman, if that makes sense. And that is the thing. People are coming with their impeccable nature to say things like, I want to check on my Black friend and not just my friend. You know what I mean? Like, you're impeccable with that, but I'm still a whole much more than Black. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm going to stop bringing up the controversial things. But
no, it's all right. I was just going to say, like, that's been a lot that's been circling around social media today is about how there have been Black women who have also been killed from police brutality as a result of that. And so, they have not been forgotten. So I've seen several posts floating around that. So that's, so it's all in alignment. It's all good. It's all good. All right. So ladies, anything else? A big pause. Go ahead.
Janine, go ahead. What's on your heart?
All right. Well, Tammy alluded to it earlier. I was talking, I think if we can talk a little bit more about the impeccable with your word kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I told you, I think more of it is purity rather than sin, but I think it's a good analogy either way. I feel like without doing some digging into myself, I can't expound or support anybody with my opinions and feelings and even my actions if I haven't taken a deep look into who I am and what's the state of impeccability of my words. Like, if I say I'm going to do something, very simple stuff. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I feel that's being impeccable. My word is impeccable. If I tell you something, I mean it. All right, I'm not blowing smoke up your skirt, right? But the thing is, I can't rest on that just because I've done it before in the past. I have to continually look and see. Let's give myself a service. Like every year you have your furnace checked, to make sure that it's going to heat in the winter time. At least that's what we do up here in Chicago.
I wouldn't know anything about that. A furnace.
Don't let that furnace sit there.
Maybe that AC.
And I worked at home services company, so I got you, Janine.
Yeah, but if it goes down to 10 below and that furnace doesn't kick on, right? That's not the time to call out service, okay? Because they're not going to have time for you, and you're going to freeze your little butt off. So, I think from time to time you have to kind of look at yourself and say, where do I stand right now? And I've been trying to talk to white people. Okay, white people, that's you.
I saw that on your broadcast this morning. You were like, I'm talking to the white people. I was like, woo, go girl.
Because and I've shared this story, and I'll share it again, talking about seeds. I'm old enough to remember when Martin Luther King came to Chicago. Okay, I was a kid though. All right, so that's not an excuse, but that just means my mind was fertile. And my mother had seen what happened in other cities. There was burning, there was rioting, there was, okay. So it's the same kind of thing now. All I could feel about, and news was not as widespread. We didn't have social media, etc. So my only view of what was happening was through my mother, right? My mother was scared. So my first inclination about Martin Luther King was to be afraid of him. All right. So you don't realize my mother didn't do that on purpose. She didn't sit me down and say, now, Janine, I felt that because children are so tuned into what their parents are doing. Right.
And he actually gave an example of that. Like when that happened to the little girl, when she said she couldn't sing, like,
yes, exactly.
She didn't mean it. She didn't mean to say that. She was just tired and wanted quiet, but it affected the little girl, but she didn't sing the rest of her life. Same thing.
So I am challenging other white people to dig back and look for that stuff in the back, because anybody else looking from outside my life and not knowing who I am would say that's racist, right? Well, of course it is. But I have to root that out before my word can be impeccable, so that I can join in, and I said this because John Paul had a quote about solidarity has to be solidarity in love. Without loving myself and getting my word impeccable, I can't join in solidarity with everybody who needs me right now to do that. So white people, get yourself straight. Go, it's hard. Dig. If you don't think it's there, you're wrong. Okay? That's all I'm going to say.
And
you brought up, go ahead, Stephen.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, she brought out two different things about, he mentioned that everything is a mirror. And if we're a light and we're reflecting that. And so that's kind of what you were talking about, like that mirror, that reflection and doing that. And the other thing you brought about was the fire. Mm-hmm. He actually talks about fire, which I thought, how relevant to today. He talks about how, he gave the analogy of, in religion, how you're going to go to hell and fire is bad and you're going to burn and things are burning and how that's, a punishment, how you think of it as a punishment. And he says, fire is generated by emotions. And I thought, oh, like it really made I just thought about like what's going on. Like all that is happening right now is fueled by emotions, and how fire is a demonstration.
Right? Passion. Yep.
Right. Passion is so that fire is a demonstration of that passion and that emotion, and how it's not necessarily. And so it's something to pay attention to, because there's something happening there. So absolutely. I don't know if y'all read that, but I just thought about that. And that comes from a place of fear.
Yes.
Right. Yep. So anyway, go ahead, Stevie. That was all. I just wanted to make those two connections because she talked about both of those while she was talking. So
it's funny. I've never, even though I've been Black all my life, I've not been a color, but I've never thought about it as me being Black till this. Like, I've never had that discussion of race as so much as we have right now. In the last couple of days, I've been talking about race so much. Really, it's just like I've been living my life. And then I've been having, because since Saturday, when some of the major influencers got called out on some of the things they did and said, like some people saying they didn't know racism was still alive. I never have had so many conversations about being a Black woman, or what's necessarily about what's my Black plight, or how do I feel like a Black woman. I've never had these conversations, so I think it's very relevant, because I was born almost in the 80s. I was born in 78, and so by the time that happened, a lot of course, history-wise, a lot of that had been finished. And so what happened, I've seen definitely Rodney King, I've definitely seen OJ, I've definitely seen, because I am an Aggie, shouts out to North Carolina.
Now you're showing your age.
It's okay, I'm 41, but I have I've seen, the A&T 4. I've heard about that. That's relevant to my history of even being an Aggie, and being a Black person. But it's just interesting how these days we're talking about race, like we're going all the way in race. We're seeing who is who. We're seeing what words they're impeccable to. We're seeing how people feel, how they feel. Like some people are using it as a marketing ploy. I mean, they are using this whole thing as a marketing ploy. Some people are genuine. Some people, it's just interesting, the signs of the times.
So how do you know?
How do I know what?
The difference.
Oh.
That's more of a rhetorical question. It doesn't require an answer. I'm just saying, like, okay. So I was just throwing that out there.
The integrity before it even happened. And that's the word. Like, your word is bond. That's showing my age too, because they used to say that back in the day. But
see, I was gonna say it. I had it written down, so I'm glad you beat me to it. So I heard it from you.
I know. When you was a little girl, I told it to you. But word is bond. Integrity speaks. This is powerful that you're doing this right now, Dr. Tammy. This is amazing. And you've always been a forerunner inside the space since I've known you, of having these conversations. And I think it's just beautiful, because a lot of people don't know, they don't have the space. We don't have the comfort zone to speak about this. This is not, because we don't know how people going to come out of their bag and say, what words they're going to say, how they're going to say it. So I appreciate you for opening this conversation.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Because he even talks. So if you haven't read the book, grab the book. I know we're getting on our time. I told the ladies a certain amount of time. But he even talks about, right in the opening, the difference between justice and injustice. And he even addresses that topic, which is something so relevant for this month, which is probably why this book kept bothering me. And I had all these books for us to read, which we're going to read in 2020. But I put this one as first, and it just felt like looking at the self. A big part of my platform is about looking at yourself and being self-aware and managing who you are before you can manage other people and do other things, to impact others. And so this book just seemed to resonate. So this month, I just decided we're going to start with this one, but we have some others that are very controversial that are on the list that we will be reading within the group. So if you want to join the group, make sure you join us, bit.ly/join WAM, WAM, Women Aspiring for More. And you can join us and be in the group. We have conversations in there. The next 2 months, we will be doing it public, but normally we have these discussions within the group because I prefer that in smaller spaces. But I decided this is a time for me to take it beyond my 200 or so ladies that are in the group. So we are doing it publicly. So you can join us, grab the book, and join us each week. Here on Thursdays, we will be discussing each of the 4 agreements. Today's agreement is be impeccable with your word. So we're discussing that. We discussed that. Go back and later. Like, we only gave a cursory. Like, this is just, we just breezed over the top. Like, there's so much. Like, I have notes where we haven't talked about, racism. We haven't talked about the injustice versus justice and what that means. And there's all of that. And he addresses that and what that looks like for you as the individual. And I think that's something that you need to come to terms with, so you know where you fit in all of this advocacy. Where do you fit in this fight? Let me just say it like it is, right? Where is your space? And I know that my space is different. There's some people who take to the streets and they do that. And I'll be in there, but I know my most effective space is here. My most effective space is getting people to think differently, to think critically, and to really impact that. And of course, I do it through literature because that's my career. That's what I do. And so this is where I've started, not where I will end, and not the only thing that I will do, because I'll be in the streets too. But I know that this is my space. So I'm hoping that you will, join us in the discussion, and then not only just join us in the discussion, but then decide, where do you fit in all this? What side are you on? You got to choose a side. You got to choose a side.
And that's so interesting to not play the middle. Like, some people don't want to choose a side. And it's funny. I think I've chosen the side. Like you were just saying, you're going to be on the streets. I was telling 2 people yesterday, I said, we all got to play our parts. Y'all going out and do that? Some of us got to stay home and make this money, because somebody's going to have some bail money. So y'all go and do what you got to do. I'll be the one getting the money. And if you need me, I'm going to have a special fund for some of y'all, because that's how it really gets. And I think a lot of times we can't be in the fight. We got to be supporting from different ways. And that's what, that's my impeccable word that I'm going to, I got y'all. If it gets that far, and because I know a lot of my friends, they out there, then NAACP, SCLC, they in the fight, and that's just what it is. So yeah, this is a heavy time.
And I just want to say, I've been using John Paul II a lot, because there was a photo op.
I know you're scaring me.
I know. But John Paul II said that people who have resources, who have access to everything, they're the ones who are charged with taking care of people who don't. I'm really paraphrasing. He had a lovely quote, but I don't have it in front of me. But white people, use your money, educate yourself, and then, yes, privileged people, but white people too. They have privilege, they have money, they have resources. Use them. Find out where there's inequities. Close that gap. That's how I feel I can contribute. I can find ways in which to help with closing those resource gaps. It's a start. It's not the whole picture, but like Stevie said, somebody's got to be making that money. Somebody's got to be spending that money in the right way. So that's what I say.
Ladies, thank you so much. I know, our time is up, and we have so much that we didn't discuss and haven't discussed, but thank you so much for being here. And I know some of you will be, I think both of you maybe, will be back later in the month for another agreement. So thank you so much for joining me today and being here and talking about be impeccable with your word. Your word is your bond. There's power in the tongue. All of that, and what you say about others really reflect who you are and how you believe, and what you believe about yourself and how you feel about yourself. So thank you for being here. If you would like, you can share either what you broadcast about, if you have a show, or if you have something going on, a promotion that you can share with the audience. I'm all about supporting small businesses and supporting Black and just supporting each other. So yeah, who wants to go? Final thoughts.
I know Stevie's got something to promote, but before she does, I'm going to jump in here and say, if you guys are still thinking about joining this group, I want to tell you 2 reasons why you should. Number one, it's important to educate yourself. Tammy picks and the group picks books that are going to maybe not be things that you might have pulled off the bookshelf. And that's a good thing. Get out of your comfort zone. And number 2 is she gives people an opportunity to share their thoughts and feelings in a very, very cool, non-judgmental zone. And there's not a lot of that going on right now. So kudos to Dr. Tammy. Get yourself in here and get yourself to be part of the group. That's all.
Aw, thank you. Did you want to talk about your show while you're there?
Just join me if you want to have fun. JMTSQ, Periscope. See you there. Or Instagram. Love to hear from you. That's it.
All right. Stevie?
Thank you, Dr. Tammy. Thank you, Janine, for allowing me to be part of this conversation. I know we had some hard hitters. I shared a lot of emotion, but that is the truth of my word. And so shouts out to Joanne Pham, who's here too. Hey, but listen, I am Stevie Aisha Mills, Dr. Stevie Aisha Mills, and I am excited about helping women get seen and getting paid. And what you can do is to go to IamAmoneymaker.com, check out my latest project, and let's get it done. Let's get it done. It's time to get that money together. So thank you again, Dr. Tammy. You guys make it a great day. And I will see you the next time.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you. Okay, so I will take us out, I guess. And we have a few others that have shared what they're doing in the comments, so I will do that as well. Thank y'all so much for being here. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. All right, y'all. So thank you so much for being here for another, I guess this is for the first episode. It's another one for the rest of us. We do this every month, but this is our first public discussion about a book in a long time. We haven't done it in probably over a year. So I decided we do that. And we're discussing the 4 agreements. And definitely follow the ladies. Make sure that you share this out. If you haven't shared it out, tag someone in the comments if you know they could benefit from our discussion and or the book. Please share it with them or joining the group, because we do a lot of private discussions and more intimate discussions within our group. So definitely do that. We have some other businesses and things going on in the community. So make sure that you check out Get Wealthy Wednesdays on YouTube at 7 p.m. at the same handle. IMF Brandon is the YouTube channel. So make sure you check that out. And in addition to, hello, Joanne. How you doing? How's it going? So make sure that you check out the ladies. Check out Coffee with Janine, Coffee Chat with Janine. It's Wednesdays. It was actually before the broadcast today. Go check out the replay over on Periscope. And it was on at her handle. What is your handle, Janine? Let me put it in the comments. Or you can put it in the
JMTSQ.
JMTSQ. Because you know what? Because I get those letters changed around all the time. So definitely check out her show. And then Miss Stevie, your link, if you want, you could put it in the comments. I know you mentioned it. So unless you already did. Oh, there you put it in. All right. Thank you, Janine. You put it over there. I'm a little slow with this technology. So join us next week. We'll be back next week with chapter 3. We'll be talking about, I should probably have that committed to memory because this book. Don't take anything personally would be the next agreement we're going to talk about next week. And I'll have some different ladies, I think, going to be joining me next week. We'll have a different group. So you get to hear different perspectives on the different topics within the group. And I'm just here to facilitate. I try not to say too much and give too many of my opinions. I like it to come from the ladies, but I do, y'all know me. So, there it is. I am a moneymaker.com. Miss Stevie? Yes?
Yes. Thank you, Brandon.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure it was correct. All right. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. And make sure you check us out next week. We'll be back. I appreciate all of you. And be impeccable with your word, because it reflects who you are. And you want to reflect all that's good. The world needs it, especially now. So we're out of here. We'll talk to you soon. Oh, Janine, you want to do your thing? Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. It'd be a good screenshot. We're doing all kinds of things behind the scenes. Why not?
Woo!
I always do it wrong because I always try to have mine going toward you, but I always got to do it wrong.
hard to see.
I feel like Charlie's Angels over here. Okay. Pretty much. That it's StreamYard. So I don't know. Little fun never hurts anyone.
That's why the middle's fun.
I know you can do whatever you want in the middle. There we go. See y'all later. We're out of here. If you want to join the community, the ticker's going on bit.ly. Join Wham. We'll see you soon. Bye.